Now, on Monday, the Israeli military intercepted an aid flotilla bound for Gaza. They captured 428 participants from 40 countries, including Margaret Connolly, the sister of Uachtaráin Naher and Catherine Connolly. Now, our next guest was in an observer support boat following the flotilla, and she's here to tell us more as activist Caoimhe Butterly. Good morning to you.
Caoimhe.
So you were in a support boat following the flotilla. What happened?
So we sailed along with the flotilla for approximately 5 weeks with 2 other observer and support boats that were organised by Greenpeace and a search and rescue vessel called Open Arms. And what happened, in a way, was a repeat of what happened 2 weeks ago when 20 of the vessels were illegally boarded, intercepted, and violently commandeered by Israeli commandos off the coast of Crete. So Monday was a repeat of that, but
428 kilometres out,
yes,
so from the coast of Gaza. It's international waters.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, the scope of the overreach, but also that culture of impunity was very clear 2 weeks ago and also on Monday. And the violence that we've seen vis-a-vis the videos that emerged yesterday, and more generally in terms of the treatment of those now illegally imprisoned in Israel has been very bleak, and yet an insight into the conditions for Palestinian prisoners.
So we know there's 15 Irish confirmed, including, as we were saying, the president's sister. Has there been any communications with them since?
Not since the moment of interception. So the only information that we're getting is from the legal team, from a human rights and legal organisation called Adela. And the report that they issued last night was profoundly concerning. It's caused anxiety and deep worry for all of the families and loved ones waiting here and in other countries. But it pointed to systematic physical, psychological, and in some cases sexual violence. So there were references to volunteers and participants with broken ribs, people who had been tasered, who had been kept in stress positions for hours, denied access to food and water and medical care. And again, it's really important to emphasize when we talk about volunteers, the age range in this flotilla. There's 2 18-year-old young students. There is a 79-year-old grandmother from Barcelona. And these are, friends and colleagues who have sailed with literally baby formula and humanitarian aid to try and challenge an illegal blockade.
So we're seeing the video here. I think most people have seen this, released on official channels by the Israeli government. You see Israeli Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir looking at these detainees as they're forcibly in stress positions on the ground of all age ranges, gloating. It doesn't bear thinking about what they're actually doing to Palestinian prisoners behind bars that they're not showing us. What has been the reaction to this? For anyone who has seen it, it's outrageous, but the reaction to it.
It has been, I think it's catalysed an understanding. The reaction has been one of outrage and again, very, very anxiety-provoking, for the families waiting back home. But the young woman in question, young organiser Katrina Graham, Kat, who challenged Itamar Ben-Gvir, is somebody who is both profoundly brave and also committed. But knowing her and knowing her involvement in Palestinian human rights advocacy, she would want that lens to be focused on Palestinian prisoners. So it has catalysed a lot of diplomatic blowback and also mobilization. And I think for all of the hardships that they are presently enduring in Israeli detention or captivity, it has really spotlighted that, as you mentioned, the systematic abuse of Palestinian prisoners.
But is there seems to have been a schism there in the Israeli government in relation to this, because it was
ironically,
like what's happened there in relation to Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir?
So both Netanyahu and Gideon Sa'ar have come out condemning Itamar Ben-Gvir and basically trying to present this as sort of a bad apple as opposed to a systemically rotten system when it comes to systematic human rights abuses. So what we saw not only in this flotilla but the one prior to it, and I've been involved in these since 2008, so I've seen the whole spectrum of violence and treatment that has been visible visited upon participants.
Yeah.
But I think what it has highlighted in a way is that when this happens behind the scenes, that it is permissible. When it happens sort of on a widely retweeted tweet that then went viral, that suddenly there are these positions that try and isolate it from a policy.
Yeah.
But I would say, having sailed upon these flotillas for many years, that this actually deepens people's commitment. It is a traumatizing experience. I'm not saying that it doesn't take its toll, that it doesn't have cost, but I think what it does is, in a way, consolidate resolve with people out of a recognition that if civilians and civil society don't mobilize, if ordinary people do not translate their grief, their outrage, and their love into practical action, that will not happen on a political level. So it does feel like that courage, has been a call, to people to do what they can, in their humble and profound ways at home. And I think
in your own way, you're putting a spotlight on it. What's going to happen next? We think they're going to be deported as early as today?
Potentially. So we're receiving reports from embassies of a variety of different countries that there's an indication that collectively almost 430 people might be deported, first of all to Istanbul, and then to their countries of origin. So we're in contact and communication. And I would like just to say that the families of those illegally abducted and now forcibly detained in Ireland have been so brave. And I think even within all of their anxiety and the unknowns have just really shown up. And even, I think parents and children and partners of those who are in prison who might not be comfortable speaking publicly or to the media have really stepped into that space to try and represent the intentions.
You've been doing this for 18 years, Caoimhe. That's really important to say. I know a highlight is on this now. 18 years you've been going on these flotillas trying to get any bit of aid, baby formula, into Gaza. You're going away again tomorrow?
I am to try, and actually possibly today. I was looking at flights before I came here. But yes, I'm conscious. I am a mental health care worker. I am a psychotherapist as well as being a campaigner, but also a parent. And as a mother, and as part of many networks such as Mothers Against Genocide now in Ireland, I feel that this is a moral responsibility vis-a-vis the unprecedented massacre and slaughter of Palestinian children. And I would like to say also, because this is something that we discussed pre-interview, that so many of the participants in these flotillas are also, for example, in the last few ones and this one, Jewish Americans and people from so many different faith and political backgrounds who are united in their horror, but also their commitment to translate empathy into practical action.
100%. Being a Jewish person doesn't correlate to having anything to do with the Israeli state and the Zionist impetus behind them. Caoimhe Butterly, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mind yourself.
Keep up
Thank
the
you
good
so
work.
much, Caoimhe. Really appreciate it.